What leads you to this conclusion?
Well, first, let me give you the good part of the story, and that is thank you, tech. Tech should enable banks to become more efficient than they've ever been before in history, and that's from modernizing back offices, branches, and call centers, and migrating to the cloud, off-premise to third-party storage. It's really a swap to bots from bankers. And developers are the new bankers. The chief technology officers at banks are now some of the most important people at banks. Banks are increasingly software companies, and I guess that makes people like me, bank analysts, part-time tech analysts too. So this is a very positive partnership between banks and technology that really should take off, especially post-pandemic.
You surveyed dozens of execs at some of the biggest banks across the country, and I'm curious, do you see them adding tech jobs or simply losing 100,000 traditional jobs?
Well, most of the reductions, we'd say about 2/3 would be in the back office, especially as you modernize the back office, automate, move to the cloud, and then 1/3 would be more of the front office, branches, those sorts of positions. Having said that, there is an offsetting factor, and that is more technologists who work in areas such as AI and ML and big data and the cloud and digital banking and electronic payments. They're getting added for sure. And also anyone who provides advice, whether to consumers for financial planning or institutions, whether it's investment banking or bankers. So that is a net number. We do expect 100,000 jobs to be eliminated from the banking industry. But so if you're working the back office or a branch, it should not be new news over the next several years as banks automate. And they need to automate to keep up with big tech, fintech, big retail, and others.
And yet there are those times when you're dealing with a banking issue where you just need to talk to a real human, and it takes many, many minutes, even now, to get someone live on the other end of the line. What does this change mean for customers?
Well, the idea is that customer service will be vastly improved. And the best example of that was during the pandemic when big banks had more than 80% of their workforce work remotely. And then digital banking provided fantastic service. And our 100-page report that we co-authored with our firm's tech research team showed that J.D. Power says that customer service at banks is the best that it's been since the global financial crisis more than a decade ago. Digital banking only customers have increased from 30% before the pandemic to 41%. So technology enables better customer service. And Emily, you're absolutely right. You should be able to talk to somebody when you'd like to do so. And Bank America is a good example of that. You can set up an appointment and talk to somebody, and their number of appointments have really increased. So, we talk about digital or bricks and mortar delivery, but it's really a hybrid delivery now. And the largest banks do have an advantage of, both branches and digital. So you do have that option.
Do you think that banks can win the war for tech talent? When I went to college, everybody wanted to work at Goldman Sachs. Now, more and more people want to work at tech companies, want to work at startups.
It is very hard for banks to get tech talent. The CEO of Capital One, been around for decades. He said hiring tech talent, the costs are, quote, breathtaking. So it's a great time to be a computer science major. Having said that, if a technologist joins a large bank, it's not rolling the dice hoping some startup is going to make it or not. You can have a concrete impact on tens of millions of consumers. You have the resiliency of the bank. They're going to be around for a while. It's a more steady job. And you might not have the free sushi and the dry cleaning and the ping pong, in the corner. But you could have a steady job where you're going to have an impact. But the competition for talent, tech talent, has never been more fierce, and banks are bearing some of the brunt of that.
Well, there's also some money and, potential big payoff if you do pick that right tech company or that right startup, which banks can't necessarily offer. But if there is one bank that you think is getting this right, that you think could beat all the other banks in this department, which bank would you bet on?
Well, our favorite bank, long-term and short-term, is Bank of America, because they have the multi-product, multi-delivery, multi-geography approach, so they can keep a customer for life. And Emily, we talked about, when we went to college, you'd get a new bank. When you moved to a new town, you got a new bank. At a different stage of your life cycle, you get a new bank. And you could stay with Bank of America or some of the other large banks for your entire life now. And the data do show that the length of the average banking customer relationship has gotten longer.